everyone, this is Ashley with Marshflower Studio. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this adorable little elephant keychain. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button for me and subscribe so you'll see other videos that I post. And feel free to make requests for future videos if there's something you would like to see me make, or if there's a pattern that you're having a little bit of trouble with, and you can send that over so I can videotape some of the more difficult parts maybe. I'd be happy to do that. For this particular elephant, I'm going to show you guys how to make the ears and the legs first. So that way, once you finish the body, you can kind of head in your own direction with it, getting everything sewn together without having to wait until the very end of the body to then learn all the parts for the ears and the legs. So to get started, we have our magic ring, and I am using a 4mm hook because this is one of my keychain size pieces. I'm going to do 5 single crochets in the magic circle, and this is for the ear. I don't remember if I said that already. 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to pull this tight, but I'm not going to be working the ear in the round. I'm going to turn my ear over, and I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to do 2 single crochets in each ear. So you'll have 10 single crochets at the end of this row. 3 and 4. Oops. 5 and 6. 7 and 8, and then we have 9 and 10. For row 3, we're going to do a chain 1 and turn, and then we're going to do an increase and then a single crochet. So we'll have 15 total stitches once this is finished. So I'm going to do 1 and 2, and then 3, and we'll do 4 and 5, and then 6, 7 and 8, and then 9, 10 and 11, and 12, 13, and 14, and then 15. So we're going to leave it in this kind of open Pac-Man shape because this will kind of help it fit up against the side of your elephant's head when it's time to sew it on. So I'm going to do a little chain 1 here. I'm going to cut my thread with just enough to kind of sew it to the head later. We'll make 2 of these, set them to the side. Then for the leg, we're going to be doing 8 single crochets in a magic circle. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, and we are working in the round this time. So for our next row, we're just going to have single crochets. If you want the bottom of your foot to be a little bit different than the rest of the leg, you can do back loop only for the first 8. That's what I like to do. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So it gives you a better kind of clear definition between the bottom of the foot and the side of the leg. Now, you can leave your little feet this way if you want your elephant to have short legs, which is actually what I do. Or you can add a few more rows of single crochet to get your legs to a longer length. I think the longest I've gone is 5 rows total. So I'd have 3 more rows kind of on top of this one to make those legs a little bit longer, but I like the little short stubby legs personally. So I'm going to fasten this off. You'll make 3 more of these. I'm going to do my little slip stitch. I'm going to cut just enough to sew it to the body later. Make sure that magic circle is nice and tight so it doesn't come undone. And typically I don't stuff these, but I will take this kind of starter yarn and stick it down in there. That way there's something inside there keeping them from getting mashed completely flat, especially when they're this short. Okay, so we'll set that to the side. I'll make the other ear and the other 3 legs later on. For the trunk, the head, and the body, they're all worked as one piece. So the rest of this is pretty simple as far as making these little guys go. So we're going to start with 6 in our magic circle. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We'll pull that tight. And we're going to do 2 rows of single crochet. Okay, so we'll have 12 stitches total here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, now we're going to do 5 single crochets and then 1 increase. Okay, so 1, whoops, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then our increase. And then we're going to have a row of single crochets. So we'll have 7 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, I'm going to make sure that my starting tail is pulled nice and tight for the end of this trunk here. And I'm actually going to just kind of gently stick that starter tail down into the tip of this trunk. So it's kind of out of the way. I need the stick. When I use my hook, it tends to pull the yarn back up with it. Okay. So that was row 5. For row 6, we're going to do 6 single crochets and then an increase. So we'll have 8 stitches total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then our increase makes 7 and 8. We're going to have another single crochet row, so 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. For row 8, we're going to be doing an increase in each stitch. So we're going to end up with 16 at the end of this row. So 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12, 13 and 14, 15, and 16. So now we're starting to work on building out the rest of his face here. For our next row, we're going to be doing 2 single crochets. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 single crochet and an increase. And that'll get us out to 24 stitches total. Sometimes I look at my notes and it just kind of starts going backwards on me. So 1 and 2, and then 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7 and 8, 9, 10 and 11, there's 12, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Okay. For rows 10, 11, 12, and 13, you're just going to be doing single crochets. So 4 rows, I'm going to do my first 2 stitches here, and then I'm going to use my large hairpin here as my stitch marker so that I don't have to count 4 rows of 24. Because while I know you guys love hearing me count, I think there are definitely some times when it just gets annoying. Whoops. I have noticed when I use a 5mm hook versus the 4mm, the 4mm I tend to kind of drop loops a lot more easily than when I'm using the 5. I don't know if that's an issue that anyone else has. I guess it just comes from years and years of working primarily with a 5mm hook. So when I switched to a 4, on yarn that I typically use a 5 with, things tend to go a little wonky. I had someone ask the other day if crochet was the only art that I do, and the answer is no. I love to do pottery. This bowl is actually one that I've made. The inside of that's really pretty. I have way too many of these things sitting around my house because I don't like to part with them. I also draw and occasionally paint, although I'm not really fond of painting. And I do creative art journaling just for fun. I've got a couple of videos posted of some of the art journal pages I have made recently. Even if you are not into drawing or painting at all, you can still do creative journaling. All right, so that's row 3. One more row here will get me all the way to 4. And then we'll move on to our next step. And if you can hear my background noise, my tiny tornado toddlers, as always, running around being silly. Okay, so for our next step, we're going to have a single crochet and a decrease, and that takes us down to 16 total stitches. So 1, and then decrease 2, 3, decrease at 4, 5, decrease on 6, 7, decrease on 8, 9, decrease on 10, 11, decrease on 12, 13, decrease on 14, 15, and decrease on 16. Okay. For our next row, we're going to decrease 4 times, and then you're going to have a single crochet left over. Okay. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Just kidding, I read my notes wrong. You just single crochet to the end of the row. Sometimes I write these things down so fast that even I can't read what I've put. All right, let's back to the beginning. So there should be 12 total stitches for that row. In our next row, we're going to do increases all the way around, and that'll take us back out to 24 stitches. So 1, completely forgot that they were all increases here. So 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12, 13 and 14, 15 and 16, 17, 18, 19 and 20, 21 and 22, 23 and 24. Alrighty, so we have his trunk, we have his head, and now we're working on his body, okay? If you want to use safety eyes for your elephant, now is going to be the time that you're going to want to put those in. I typically don't use safety eyes for this guy. I kind of like them without the eyes, a little more simpler. I can leave things, sometimes the better. But just figure out where you want your eyes to go. Get those popped in so that you're not trying to fight it later on. Because once you have his body kind of back here, it makes it a lot harder to get up inside here. So one other thing I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to pull this tail, the starter tail from the trunk, out into the head area. And this is a little trick that I do. I like for my elephants to have their trunk raised instead of just pointing straight out or pointing down. So what I do is I take this tail and I pull it just a little bit, and then I'll attach it to the ending tail from the body, and that'll help keep it in this raised position. I'll keep it turned up when you pull that string and kind of tie it off in the back. So if you want your trunk to be tipped up, then make sure you leave this string where you can get to it. I'm just going to kind of stick it back in the head for right now so that I can get to it when I need it, but it's not in my way and I'm not fighting it. Okay. For our next rows, we're going to do 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 of single crochets. So 5 rows of single crochet. So I'm going to move my stitch marker. See, there's my first 2. I'm going to move my stitch marker back here so that I can just go around and around and around. And depending on the reason you're making your little elephants, you can, leave them plain. Once you're done, attach the ears and attach the legs. You can put eyes on them. You can tie a little bow around their neck. I happen to be an Alabama football fan, so I usually take my kind of crimson colored yarn and make a little bow around their neck. But if you're making it for, let's say, a baby, a cute little elephant stuffy for a newborn, you could certainly tie a little pink or blue bow around the neck for a little pop of color. And again, this is a good size for, let's say, a little baby. They can easily kind of get their hands on it. And if you're doing baby version, you could also think about putting a little rattle inside. I like to put rattles inside things that I know are going to be more intended for a baby. Just make sure you're using rattles that are safe. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. All right, so this is row 4. I am working on some other small animal patterns. They could kind of go in a set with a little elephant here. So hopefully it won't be too long before we have a giraffe and a rhinoceros, maybe a little monkey. I want to try to do a little alligator as well. Living in coastal Georgia, it's hard not to do an alligator. I was out the other day, and there's an area that's near downtown Savannah, but it's not in downtown Savannah, where there are some of the big drainage ditches. They always are full of water. And there was actually an alligator swimming around in one of those. I was like, oh my goodness. All right, so there's our 5 rows. We're gonna do a single crochet and a decrease, and we're going to get down to 18 stitches for this next row. So I'm going to do 1, and then decrease, 1, oh, I guess technically that's 4. We'll do 5, 6, 7, oh wait, no, I did it again. I misread my instructions. This row is supposed to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. All right, so I'm just gonna pull this back until I get past that first decrease, because I know this was from my other row. So do, okay, that's 2, and then 3 will be my decrease. I need to type up my patterns here so I'm not misreading my handwriting anymore. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, decrease of 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Okay. From here, we're going to do the single crochet and decrease. That'll take us down to 12 from this row. But before I do that row, I'm going to pull my trunk starter string out, and I'm going to put a little bit of stuffing down inside that head. I don't really stuff the trunk because I found when I tried to stuff the trunk, it ended up too stiff for me to give it that little curve. So I want my head to be nice and full, but not overly firm. We don't want the elephant's head to be bigger than the body, right? All right, so got that where I can get to it. I'm going to do my single crochet and decrease down to 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right, for our last row, we're doing 6 decreases to close in that behind area. So I'm going to take and finish stuffing this back part of the body. I keep bumping my camera stand, reaching for my stuffing. So get some stuffing down in here. You just kind of find that middle ground between not enough and it's super squishy versus not being overstuffed. So we don't want to see big holes of stuffing through our crochet work. Okay, so I'm going to pull this little tail again kind of out of the way. I'm going to do my 6 decreases. You guys are lucky to be serenaded by a tiny tornado. Yay! Okay, so I'm finished my decreases. I'm doing a couple little slip stitches here because I'm going to do a short chain to create his tail without creating a separate chain and then sewing it to the body later. So I wanted to get to where the top of his back would be. So I'm gonna do, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll do 5 chains. And then I'm gonna slip stitch my way back up the chain to his behind. 4 slip stitches, and then I will slip stitch back into that same place where I started the chain. And then we will cut our yarn off, pull out our little tail. I'm going to use my yarn needle. We can take our stitch marker out too. Use my yarn needle to close up the behind and the back, so it's not as much of a hole. Oh no! And then once that is closed, I will use my tail from my trunk starter up here to curve that trunk up and into place and tie it with this back end so that it stays nice and tight. And then we will sew our little legs underneath, give him some cute little legs, and his ears we'll just sew straight to the sides of his head here. You can put them kind of back a little more where the neck is if you like the way that looks better, or you can put them kind of halfway back the head. I kind of mix it up so that they all have, you know, their own quirky personalities. Some I do halfway up, some I do at the neck. It just kind of depends on what mood I'm in for the day, I guess. So if you didn't do safety eyes, you can leave him plain, or you can sew him some little eyes, embroider some on there. If you're not doing this for a baby, you could put buttons for eyes. That's super cute. And don't forget that you could add a little bow tie or bow around the neck for these little elephants as well. And they turn out super cute and really fun to make, really fast and easy. If you enjoy the video, remember to hit that thumbs up button and give it a like and subscribe so you can see all of the other videos that I post. If you have any questions about anything that I did, or if you have requests for things you would like for me to make in the future, make sure you pop those in the comments and I will get to those. Thanks.